Plot: The Miracle Worker, 1962. Blind and deaf after suffering a terrible fever as a baby, young Helen Keller has spent years unable to communicate, leaving her frustrated and occasionally violent. As a last chance before she is institutionalized, her parents contact a school for the blind, which sends half-blind Annie Sullivan to teach Helen. Helen is initially resistant, but Annie gradually forms a bond with her and shows Helen ways of reaching others. Voiceover off.
When you're blind and watching movies, what will you find? A blind superhero whose superpowers are acting like he's not blind. A sighted actor over-dramatically touching people's faces. And maybe the whole joke is that they're bumping into different places. A spectacular, macular generation. From tunnel vision to your television. And do they off this movie with audio descriptions? They're movie buffs who know their stuff. You'll be thoroughly entertained. Join Sky and Melissa throughout film history and Citizen White Cane.
Hello.
Hi.
And welcome to Citizen White Cane. Industrial capitalism imposed disablement upon those non-conforming bodies deemed less or not exploitable by the owners of the means of production. The prevailing rate of the exploitation of labor determines who is disabled and who is not. My name is Sky McLeod.
The only real blind person at Christmas time is he who has not Christmas in his heart. I'm Melissa Bukta.
And we're doing The Miracle Worker, so I just picked out 2 Helen Keller quotes.
I love it. Yes.
I picked out a really hard one to say for me.
Yeah,
so.
you did. Holy crap.
I was trying to find the easiest one to say that was like very much about socialism, and that was the best I could come up with of like something I could say pithily. So there, I don't know. There you go. It was a long time ago.
That was a long pith.
Language was different. It's not super long ago, but this is like, that was, I think, the 1910s or 20s that was written, so it's a little different. Yeah, so we watched The Miracle Worker.
Yes.
It's Christmas time.
Yep. And if you were wondering when the hell these 2 blind chicks were going to talk about Helen Keller, now.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, I suggested The Miracle Worker as another Christmas time theme because a lot of the theater companies and theater circles will put this play on at this time of the year. Both instances in which I saw it, it was at this time of the year.
It's kind of like how, like, these are a few of my favorite things. Like, there's not really any it's not specific to Christmas at all, but it still gets played all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. It makes you feel good.
Yeah, it's what is it? Is it heartwarming? What do we think? I mean, I guess it's supposed to be heartwarming, right?
Yeah, it's a story about 2 people learning to. I really don't want to use the word overcome. I'm trying really hard. Because I don't want to say learning to overcome her disability. Okay,
Just
so
literally to learn how to say a word.
Right. It's about 2 people who are learning how to communicate.
Yeah, communicate is probably the right term, except for it's really one person learning how to communicate by a teacher teaching her how to communicate.
And I suppose this version of The Miracle Worker would have you think it's also about Ani learning to love and to deal with PTSD. And yeah. Because
we have it's a famous story of Helen Keller learning her first words at the tutelage of
Ani Sullivan.
Is it Ani or Annie?
I've always pronounced it Ani. That's how they pronounced it in the play.
The movie, okay, because they do say Annie in the movie.
Yeah, I feel like it goes back and forth because her little brother says Ani.
Oh, maybe it's just like...
I also just think Ani sounds cooler, but what?
Annie,
potato.
Yeah.
Sullivan, Miss Sullivan,
who because I have not actually like truly seen The Miracle Worker entirely. Like, I think it's a movie that I've probably seen bits and pieces of. Like, it's one of those that you kind of can't avoid. So I think I've seen some of it, but like I didn't realize, I forgot that Annie Sullivan is also blind, but it's funny because they say that she's partially blind, which she's like a blind person. It's just, It's just they
Right.
don't, I guess they're trying to make it seem like it's different from Helen Keller because she has some vision, but it's like, that's most blind people. She's still blind.
Yeah. I mean, I think visually impaired might have been a better way to say that, but I mean, partial vision
seemed like basically pretty similar to mine, I think.
Yeah, I mean, she holds objects like books and things up very close to her face. But she still wears sunglasses and she has light sensitivity. So yeah,
right,
I thought about a lot about you.
Yeah, just like me, basically. So I was like, hey, she's blind. Why are you calling her like half blind and like, visually impaired and all these things? Where it's like, because she's not really blind like Helen Keller's blind.
Right.
She's half blind or whatever, but she's blind. Because it's not that one eye doesn't work; it's both eyes don't work. Like half blind makes you think that like she only has one usable eye, which is I don't think the case. So, but yeah, anyway,
it's a bad choice of verbiage. I had actually not seen this particular version of The Miracle Worker.
Oh, really? Even though it is the original movie version of it.
Right.
Because it started as... Wait, it didn't start as a Broadway play, but then, like, it started as, like, a smaller play, and then it became... Wasn't there, like, 2 plays?
I'm to be honest, not exactly sure about that. I know it was a play, just a play.
But I think it was, like, written in, like, 1950 or something, and this movie came out in 1962, so...
Yeah.
Still...
So we might be able to say that this is the first definitive version, but there have been plenty of other versions.
Yeah, there's been multiple versions since then.
Yes, but I had never seen the black and white version with Anne Bancroft as Ani Sullivan. And a young Patty Duke as Helen Keller.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, yeah, I guess you did like as much of it as you could. Like, I don't know. I struggle to really like take fault in the way it was like performed and written. I think that it did an admirable job. I don't know. Like, I just wonder why this is the story we want to tell about Helen Keller is the thing that's always bothered me about it.
Yeah, it was really interesting watching this now, having watched and talked about all the movies that we've seen this year and having all of these discussions about disability, and then you come back to this story because this is the story that every fucking disabled person is told.
Yeah,
you walk up to a disabled person, you say, "Who's Helen Keller?" Every single one of them can tell you the story and
or like
her.
What's a famous blind person?
Oh, Helen Keller.
In history. Which like the thing is that who fucking hates that bullshit more than anyone else? Fucking Helen Keller. I just blew out the mic.
It's okay.
Helen Keller. It's just it's so stupid to me. Oh my god. I like reading. I spent this morning just reading a lot about her. Oh my god, it's so infuriating. Like, because she like learned how to speak, which like obviously her learning her first word, not only a boring story to tell, also just like that's not a narrative that she has any ability to control. That's literally pre-verbal, so it's like I don't know, it just feels shitty that's it. And then she like does all this activism and socialism work and like really did so much like advocating and like ways in like that I'm still like, she was saying things that I get frustrated because no one's listening to because I think we still have these problems. And then they'd be like, well, she's just blind and deaf and dumb and like what a disabled person just saying bullshit, like, because she's just feeble or whatever. Like, saying the most ableist bullshit. Like, the second she starts talking about socialism, and it's, oh my god, it just made me so mad hearing about it.
It's so easy for able people to brush off a disabled person, especially back then.
Well, when her politics is like questioning the status quo, then oh my gosh, she's just a blind and deaf person, as opposed to like, but oh, isn't it? She's so amazing when she learns to speak.
Right, when you want to tell that story.
Right. Then it's like she overcame her disability, and she's so brave and wonderful.
If anything, this is as much Ani's story as Helen's. I mean,
yeah, it's only her story. Helen Keller
is more of her story.
Somehow very absent in that she truly is no one has given her the ability to like interact with the world or communicate. Like, it's just like watching a 7-year-old finally being given the ability to communicate, which is like like she should have had from the beginning, like in a society that's, you know, fair.
Yeah, I thought of a lot of really interesting things kind of came up for me watching this, thinking about this. I thought way more about Ani than I thought about her before, to be honest.
Really interesting.
I mean, I think as you grow up and you hear this story, you focus on different things.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, it had always been about a lot about Helen, because, you know, Helen she's the one who's getting taught and she's learning and figuring all these things out. But yeah, I think Ani's story is much more interesting. And the play that my teacher was in, she played Ani Sullivan, focused a lot more on Ani's story, and so it was much more interesting. They even had the flashbacks in the play as well.
Oh yeah, because she was sent to an asylum
With her brother.
And she suffered all these horrible things and is coming to, like, basically advocate for Helen not to have to go to the same thing, because they're all, like, the parents are... The
discussion they have with her parents, her discussion they have in her parents in the parlor, right before Captain Keller is so dead set on sending her away, they talk about the insane asylum, and she tells her story, and it's riveting, because Anne Bancroft is an amazing actress, but it's horrifying. And to think that they would send their little girl, and there's nothing wrong with her, to an asylum for the rest of her life.
Also, like, the fact that that's you know, I mean, you have to question the entire system at that point.
Well, yeah.
Like, not really even any individual. It's almost like we should look at, this is kind of like what Helen Keller said 1 billion times in her life, which is like, you gotta look at the entire system that allows these things to happen.
But to think that they were willing to just slough off their little girl to a life of whatever. I mean,
like, why the fuck were those things there? I mean, like, for me, I'm just like, that's the problem occurs far before your, like, parents are sending, like, the fact that that's an option is really the main problem.
Well, it made me think a whole lot about Vladimir from the documentary that we watched. I thought, oh my God, she could have been him, but would have been 1,000 times worse, because Vladimir doesn't have to live in his own sick all the time and be exposed to all these grotesque situations, because at least his father is caring for him, but still, he can't communicate at all.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing, is it's just like, I think Annie is just like, we have to, like, teach her to speak, like, or, you know, we have to give her the same things you would, like, I mean, like, I guess her argument boils down to, like, treat her like you would an abled child.
Right,
that's basically it.
At the dinner table during one of her outbursts, oh no, don't let her, let her stay, this is all for her. And Ani says, if she were a seeing child, you wouldn't tolerate this behavior, and I treat her like a seeing child because she deserves to see. Yeah. Because she can see.
Right. Or, like, in that she can like, communicate.
Right. In that she can't see, but in the more the sense that she can communicate.
But they shouldn't have taught her to communicate, because then she has to, like, she talks about socialism, and that's a real problem for some people, apparently. But and this is another thing that I was, like, struggling with, because I was just like, I think you do want to set boundaries with kids, and that's super important. And I think that they were not setting boundaries with her at all. And I think that was a big problem. But there was this balance of, like, this kind of conflation of, like, if you love your child, then that's a problem.
Right. Well,
it was a weird.
It's love. It's love as in, like, mollycoddling
right,
type
but
love,
they kept saying love as opposed to, like, not setting boundaries, not, like...
Well, and another thing I was thinking about watching this is Ani's teaching methods, because you can't help, compare something like this to today, to the teaching methods of today. I mean, I wonder how her methods would have changed.
Yeah, I know, that's what I was thinking about, because it's, like, she is not, like... I mean, first of all, it doesn't seem like she's having a lot of fun. And I'm like, when you're dealing with kids, there has to be some, like, fun. Like, it felt very, like, school teacher.
Yeah, but your pupil is slapping you in the face multiple times, throwing awful temper tantrums.
Right, but temper tantrums are just a
not
lack
fun.
of communication.
Yes.
Like, it's just a breakdown of communication, which is why it makes perfect sense that Helen Keller would be acting that way.
Right.
Like, and I think some of
Right.
the behaviors that she had were probably from, like, were definitely from a lack of boundaries with the parents
yeah.
or, like, them giving up on her, basically.
Or well, that, and they would give her, they would give her sweets and they would give her toys and, nothing. There was no rules. There was no socially, this is how you socially behaved. Hell, I'm surprised she knows how to walk, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, yeah. She definitely, which I guess, yeah, I mean, like, we don't have a good sense of her other developmental stages entirely other than language, basically.
But I don't think Ani is ever cruel to her. I mean, it's
not. It's weird.
Very much two forces, two opposing forces meeting each other, and it's not necessarily about Helen has to give in. I mean, she learns to behave, but Ani's not beating her down and forcing
it's
her.
like not problematic in a lot of
Right.
ways. It could have been, but it is also like there is some of the stuff where like it does feel like you're putting the horse before the carriage and just like making her be obedient before even teaching her language. And for me, part of
Right.
it was like, isn't it better to just like really focus on getting her language skills before you, like, 'cause she folds a napkin, and this is the whole big plot point, is that she's able to fold the napkin.
Right, because Ani's trying to get her to sit at the table and eat with utensils and fold her napkin like a proper lady. Yeah, and her mother hangs on this.
Right, but this is also like something that's obviously important to Annie as well, is to like get her to do this. And like I understand that you want to like be someone who's starting to set those boundaries, like those healthy boundaries, and that makes a lot of sense to me. But I was just like, this seems like the most random thing to be focusing on. Like just to me, I don't know. It wasn't enough for me to be really mad about it, but I also just, it felt like sort of like I was like, oh, you could be focusing on more interesting things.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if you think about where the story takes place, we're after the Civil War, we're in the South. Women are expected to be little proper ladies. That is what those type of skills, that is what her parents wanted her to learn.
Right.
The problem is her parents never saw her going further than that.
Right, exactly. And that's kind of part of the movie. It's like, but then I guess, yeah, and I mean, I guess it makes sense that that's part of, but I was just like, if Anne Sullivan's so different, then why is she starting with the same bullshit that her parents, because she's constantly at odds with the parents, but it wasn't really clear if that was like a way of like appeasing them exactly, because it seemed like she was the one who wanted, like,
because she knows and she sees the signs in Helen that Helen is trying desperately to communicate, and I don't think she wanted to give up on Helen.
No, absolutely not. And I think that made a lot of sense. I think it was the like, not because she's 7 years old and she's been neglected for all this time, so it's like she is been neglected. She went blind and deaf at 19 months, so she's been neglected for like going on like a little more than 5 years. So it is just like, I think there's this bit of a weird.
It's interesting because she is neglected, yes, in that sense, in the language communication sense, but obviously her parents aren't, they didn't lock her up in a shed or anything, but she's neglected, and yet she gets everything she wants. The house revolved around her.
Right. It's like, it's almost like mixing our metaphors, which I mean, like, I don't know, maybe it was just similar to what actually happened. I'm not totally sure, like, that could be it, but I don't know. It just, it seemed like it was two very different things, that like, the like spoiling a child and not having boundaries is super different from like, not giving them enough stimuli,
and they
like
were
it
doing
was just a
both.
weird, right.
They're spoiling the hell out of her, and yet, but not doing, stimuli, not doing that
not
at
giving,
all.
Right. So it was like, but that was like, so those feel like two different things that if you're gonna make a movie that's an hour and 40 minutes, it felt too much. It felt like too much to address, because you also can't have like any sort of Hollywood like this is a good through line, because it was always two very, very different problems that the parents had, and those two problems were always conflated as one problem, and I was like, no, these are very different problems.
I just wanted the parents to stop fucking screaming at each other. Every single line of dialogue is yelled.
I
And
mean,
I'm like, take a
it's
breath.
really just the mom is just kind of dumb,
Yeah,
but like the dad is
yeah.
just a fucking piece of shit.
I wanted to punch multiple people multiple times in this movie.
You want to punch almost everyone most of the time.
Except for Ani and Helen, and maybe the baby. I didn't.
Which it is funny because they're the ones always punching each other.
I know.
So
They're doing all the work.
well,
for
that's
us.
which is good. I mean, yeah, I like that. It's like when Samwise barks at a motorcycle, and I'm like, yeah, I would do that if I was a dog. So.
Right.
Doing it for me, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, oh my god, and just this really weird. I couldn't place Jimmy Keller. I'm like, what is your first off, what is your character's purpose? Second of all,
her older brother.
Her older brother.
Stepbrother? I think maybe he's a stepbrother.
Yeah, I think something is said about him being half a brother. I don't know.
It's
something.
half or step. It's,
But he's family. Anyway, but he's just, God, I hated him so much. I was just like, you're not helping. Shut the fuck up and let Ani do her job. And then in the end, he finally, I don't know, turns a page or something and defends Ani.
Well, this is the thing. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense because his character is supposed to have a consistent perspective, and he truly does not. He's just like a piece of shit,
He's
like
all over the fucking
fuckboy.
place.
Like he begins as a complete fuckboy in every possible way, and then in the end, he's like, what is his whole? He's like, we should be setting boundaries for Helen, and it's like, okay, I guess
now you're gonna come around,
and it's like, and part of it is that apparently he's not standing up for himself because he's the man, so he's the one who could stand up to the dad. Like the mom can't do that because that would be ridiculous.
She's a woman,
so not gonna have it there. But then it's like he does stand up to the dad. He's like, I'm a man, I'm standing up to my dad. But it's like, you didn't have this perspective,
even though his dad has told him to his face, I don't care about your opinions. I don't care what you have to say.
Which is probably why he's not telling his dad his opinions, and half the time they are bad opinions. So like sometimes the dad is right because he's a fucking fuckboy. But they're both fuckboys. It's just he's more of like the true fuckboy, whereas the dad's just kind of like an abusive father character. He's just a fucking
he's
piece of
very
shit.
much he's Captain Keller. He very much wants his way. This is how his house is supposed to work.
Piece of shit.
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, exactly. Oh my god, the fact that his wife Katie had to ask permission from him to do anything.
Know.
I wanted to scream.
I was so furious. I was so mad.
And I know it's
I mean, I'm sure it was true.
Societal norms. Yeah, absolutely, positively. But I'm just like, God,
and she wasn't even
never.
voting. That woman couldn't even vote. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ugh.
But I mean, that's 2020 us, watching this movie.
Yeah. It's interesting because it was made in the 60s, and there were some things where I was like, oh, like this was, might actually be part of the true story, but it also seems like this was definitely 60s. Like, we're not really, like, this is probably not that far from what people believed at that time. It's not supposed to be like a period piece and some of the moral stuff. But yeah, like the fact that the dad didn't even, like, the mom had to get permission from him when he's such a stupid, he's just, all of his ideas were so stupid. Like, I mean, like.
Well, and I'm wondering, because was a play and a movie, and now it's been several movies. I'm wondering if things were dramatized. I
don't think so, because he was also like someone who was he fought for the Confederacy, so I don't have a lot of like faith in him being a decent human being. I mean, I can't imagine he was a fucking slave owner. Like,
oh yeah, right. That's another thing that finally dawned on me watching this. Oh my god, the Kellers owned slaves.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was like the only thing I could think the entire movie. It just was completely a distraction to me. It was like I thought that every moment of the movie, and I was like, this is probably not helping me focus to talk about this movie. But I'm like, these people own slaves. Like, how are we supposed to empathize with that? But I don't know. I mean, it's. Yeah, Helen Keller wound up being like a really cool socialist who was actually genuinely like, because this is something that you hear, like, we hear things in the 2020 cancel culture about like Helen Keller being a eugenicist, and I was like, I'd never looked into this.
No, I heard that on NPR. I laughed out loud when I heard that. I don't know what to think.
It's and so I looked it up.
Don't come for Helen Keller. Leave her alone.
I know. Well, because this is the thing is I looked it up, and it's like, this poor woman has been silent. It was silenced her entire life. Her story was completely taken away from her. She was like a super smart and like just so ahead of her time, and like her beliefs, like she really did so much of the stuff that she said was like, I was like, I still agree with this. This is still correct. Like, and it was just, she was like an advocate for birth control back in like way before World War II. Like, so this was before the Nazis like were even, remotely coming to power. She was like part of the suffragette movement. She was like for a few years had started to empathize with eugenicism, and then later on completely denounced it. Was like, I'm definitely not a eugenicist. Was like, came out extreme against Hitler, and like it was just a small period of time where she had been convinced. It was just like,
okay, good. I'm glad.
So
I personally, I'm glad I can put that to bed.
Yeah.
It's just awful.
Yeah, because it pissed me off.
I never wanted to think about that.
Right, and then like reading about how like her, that she is like, she was such an advocate for socialism and like an activist, and had so many like smart ideas.
That is amazing, because
yeah.
I didn't know. I knew obviously about, she's an author and an advocate for disability rights, but I didn't know about the socialism and labor stuff, and the suffragette stuff. That's so cool.
Not only that, she was like fighting against other suffragettes because they were being racist. Like, she was like a fucking badass. It was just like,
hell yeah.
Every decade I was like, oh shit, like you were so fucking smarter than everyone else. Like you like were on the right side of pretty much everything. The eugenicists, the small flirtation with eugenicism was the only like mark on her record. She was just always so fucking smart about things, like, and on the right side of history on so many of the things that she talked about. It's so frustrating that like we went from making her, basically infantilizing her, like in the way that we talk about her, and like no one cared when she learned how to speak and she had all these cool ideas. That's when people fucking silenced her for being a disabled person.
She got language, and all of a sudden people are like,
I don't like this.
Well, no, I don't agree with her. Nope.
And yeah, and now it's just like such a bummer, because like you didn't know she was a socialist. I didn't until like, so like this stuff was completely erased, and like totally like she was fucked with in the most ableist ways about it, and then it was basically forgotten in a lot of ways in like the cultural consciousness. And then the idea that we would go from that to like now in 2020 being like she was a eugenicist because she was for 1 year, like that like really pisses me off. Like, and it feels like kind of ableist to me, because it's just like she was also like in a circle of people that like were more problematic, but she was there for very good reasons, and then like had denounced those ideas, and that this was she was very like, she was young and had so many years of coming out against it, and none of that would matter. It feels like if you go through someone's Twitter feed to like a decade ago, but then like so much of what they've done afterwards is to renounce that and to like be very actively on the other side of things, as opposed to just like uncovering something that's more indicative of who they are today.
And I'm pretty sure we can say for certain that we are not hashtag canceling Helen Keller.
No, definitely not. But it's hard, because I think that's like, now it's like, oh, all your problematic faves and stuff. And I think that this is, I struggle with this a lot, because it's like realizing the breadth of Helen Keller's like life. It feels so unfair, especially given just how fucked over she was by the cultural consciousness during her life, and the idea that now that some of her ideas that she was completely silenced for are now like the cool stuff to think. They are like what progressive people think, that she was a very progressive person in 1910. Like that she would be closer to AOC than anyone else. Like right now, her opinions were basically the same thing. Like, the fact that she would be remembered as, okay, well now it's like, fuck everything she did, she was a eugenicist. Like that, it's just, it makes me so mad. I don't know, I'm just like I'm like getting very emotional about Helen Keller. But yeah, I don't know, it's It's really sad. It's just so sad, though, that her learning to speak is the only thing she's remembered by, when she was just such a fucking smart person. And like, she came from a slave owning family. Like, she came from a position where she could have been a fucking, like, terrible person.
Right. She could have adopted the beliefs of her parents and just exactly been a terrible, awful person. But I mean, I believe Ani was with her pretty much for the rest of her life.
Well, for the rest of Annie's life.
For the rest of Annie's life.
Because she had, and that was another thing, is she, like, had a love affair. When Annie was dying, she had, like, a nurse, or I don't know if he was a nurse or, like, someone that was, like, kind of taking care of her, like, when she was sick near the end of her life, I think. And Helen fell in love with this guy, and they were like, they wanted to, and he was like a socialist, and they wanted to, like, get married, but she was not allowed to be, like, she had people controlling him, and the, like, association, the Federation for the Blind, the American Federation for the Blind, the AFB, is that the right?
No, there's NFB, which is National Federation of the Blind, and then there's
Association?
ABC, or ACB, American Council for the Blind.
Okay, well, what's the one that was in the past? It was AFB then.
AFB, American. That sounds like American Federation for the Blind. But I could be wrong.
It might be. But they, like, had weird. I wanted to look more into this, but they had, like, weird control over her life.
Oh my gosh.
And were like, and part of that was well, like, silencing her, but also, like, some of her personal life and stuff, where they were just like, everyone around her was basically just like, you can't have a relationship because you are deafblind.
That's awful. That's terrible.
And, like, yeah, and that is not an appropriate thing for deafblind. It was just, like, the amount of bullshit that this, oh my god, it was so infuriating, just all of the stuff that she had to go through, and just what a fucking, like, amazing person she was, and how fucking sharp she was, and, like,
and the fact that
just that they wanted to silence, like, it was just ableism and sexism that was, like, silencing her, like, for having radical ideas, like, and for her being too fucking smart for the fucking abled, like, white men. And oh my god, sorry, this is just very
no this is all good. I mean, this is amazing. You're right, she was absolutely incredible. And I mean, I just got this feminist tarot deck, actually. Ooh. And so it's every card is a woman from history. Ooh. And Helen and Ani respectively are in that deck. And it comes with a huge book that tells you everything about these women. I haven't gotten a chance to read it yet or play with it, but
you're gonna have to tell me how much of her life is in there.
Yeah, because Helen and Ani are temperance.
What does that mean?
Temperance is like patience and moderation, basically. But learning how to. I don't see. I mean, moderation, yes, maybe, but
patience.
Patience,
I guess, yeah.
Patience definitely
makes sense.
Patience and learning how to balance and deal with and understand all of the elements that make up your world.
That, I guess, makes sense, but it's still.
And Helen
could have been socialism.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. Well, and Helen herself is the Two of Swords.
What does that card mean?
Usually, it's about choices, picking one path over another. But the character on the Two of Swords is usually wearing a blindfold, so the character's usually a blind character.
Okay.
Depicted on the card. So
it's like making
your own choices, and
irony of that.
Yeah, but making your own choices and making a decision for your own life's journey.
That is basically so ironic, given just how much she was fucking
told what
to do, and silence, and like her life was manipulated. Like, I don't even know if that's the right word, but like her story was taken from her, and her radical ideas were like basically just met with such extreme ableism.
And now we perform this play every Thanksgiving and Christmas.
How to say a word, so it's way more cool than socialism.
Basically, the end of the movie, the end of the play, she can say water.
One word.
Water.
Yeah, one word. She
can
say one word.
Yep.
And that's this fucking activist. Like, imagine.
And
I would love to make that about like Marx, like Karl Marx, just like when he learned to say his first word.
The sad fact is though is that that's where, for a lot of people who even disabled people, for a lot of folks, that's where her story ends. Oh, she grew up to be an author. That's cool,
right?
But that's
why all disabled people hate her, and that's why she.
Oh no! Whoa!
I mean, I think it's true, and I think she hated people for I mean, like, I think that she hated her represented just as, like, probably even more than we hate that. You know what I mean?
I'm sure.
Like, there's like this. I think just the fact that what is used of her is just so problematic, and it is so just not in any way true to who she was. Like, it's really frustrating because she was a very cool person, and this is just, she learned to say a word, that's it. And it's like she learned the meaning of the word, which is just like, again, it's just like one developmental stage. It seems pretty inconsequential and ridiculous to have an entire movie about a specific developmental stage. Like, I don't know.
But it's such a good story and a moving story. And I'm not gonna lie, that ending scene gets me every single time.
It is funny. I was crying and so furious at myself. So, like,
I know.
It's not something you should be crying about.
I think that's got to be like a definite plus for the acting in this movie. I mean, you say what you want about the actual real life events, but taking the movie as a movie. I thought the performances were great. Okay,
can I justify us crying?
Yes.
So, like, there was a point where they were trying to, like, fire Annie.
Yeah.
And, like, so that she would stop learning. And this was, like, they didn't. And so she got to be the fucking badass person she was because of that moment where they didn't just, like, forcibly give up on her ability to be a human being. Like, that was the moment where she got to, like, to start to be who she was and, like, was given that ability. And that was, like, that point where it's, like, the swords where that was the choice that was made, was for her to get to live a life of, like, communication. And so in that way, like, the fact that, like, that should make us cry, it's sad about society, but, like, it's still, I'm so glad that happened.
Yes. Also, I mean, side note, swords, the suit of swords is about air and thoughts and verbal communication.
Oh, okay. So that, which is kind of funny because it is, like, technically tactile communication, not verbal.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Sorry, I should have just stuck to communication. It doesn't have to be verbal, but it's thought and communication.
Okay, so that makes sense too. Okay. It's a little more justified.
a little bit.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Should we talk about, like, specifics of the movie? I feel like, I don't know. I feel like we need to.
Well, I think no. That's a valid question. I mean, I'm glad that this movie has sparked a conversation more about Helen Keller and her life. Yeah. I think that's what should happen.
Right, where it's reparations for the narrative
for
normally.
Helen, yeah. But I guess I was curious as to your thoughts. I'm still trying to mull over, did Ani do the right thing? Obviously she did the right thing. She taught Helen and didn't give up on her and knew that there was a bright, amazing, beautiful soul, and Helen wanted to communicate. But I'm just the methods, she separates Helen from the family. They go and live in a house together they only give her 2 weeks at first, but they end up living in this little house together, and so that they can be together 24/7.
Which I understood that. I think, like, part of it was just the parents are so dumb. Like, that they were just like, I could understand, like, it being in her Annie's shoes to be like, we need to get these people out of her. Like, they're more of a problem because then
cut the cord.
She has to, like, because then, like, she's dealing with both Helen but also the parents, and the parents are probably even more work than Helen is. So I understand, like, making an executive decision to be like, I can't be babysitting you two as well.
Yeah. And I think my parents kind of went through the same situation a little bit, because I mean, my Auntie Sullivan was Victoria. She was the last vision teacher I had in high school, but she was the one. All of my vision teachers believed in me and taught me, I learned different things from all of them. But Victoria was the one who actually treated me like a person and showed me society and what to do. I could ask her questions about just, inane things, but social questions, like social cues, like what does this mean? Also her son has Asperger's. So she has already been dealing with learning how to teach communication and that sort of thing. So she was always just super duper easy to talk to, but her and I did all kinds of cool stuff that my folks wouldn't necessarily have done. But she was the one who spoke up for me and was like, she deserves to go to college in Fairbanks. She deserves to leave the house.
You weren't allowed to go to college originally?
Originally I was allowed to go to college, but I had my eyes set on the Seattle Institute of Art because they have an audio design program there.
Oh, nice.
And that's where I really wanted to go at first. And my parents are basically like, no, you're not leaving the state. You can go to college, but you're not going to leave the state. The plan was, my dad's plan would have been, and I know this because he said it to me, would have been for me to graduate high school, keep working at the visitor center, which is a job I loved, and live at home with them.
Oh my gosh, why?
Because parents.
That sucks so much.
But through Victoria, through her convincing, I was able to go to college in Fairbanks. Victoria convinced my parents to let me go to Costa Rica.
Oh my gosh.
Because originally my parents tried to get Victoria a ticket to go to Costa Rica, and Victoria was like, "No, I don't want to go to Costa Rica.
Wait,
I have
instead
no
of
desire."
you, or
no,
like with
me,
you? Oh, okay.
With me. Yeah, she's like, "I have no desire to go to Costa Rica."
Yeah.
But there's Spanish teachers are going. All these kids are going.
What the fuck?
You let your daughter go. So yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
wow. No, my parents knew I was like gonna peace out instantly after college. They even like moved to a smaller apartment for like the financial reasons. But like they're like, yeah, we know you're gone. We are already downsizing before you're even allowed to be in school. And I was like, okay, cool. No, that was never. That's stupid.
I know, it's so fucking stupid.
I don't think we shouldn't need these people though. This stuff is just such common sense.
Right.
I mean, we do, but it sucks.
Because my fucking parents weren't going to teach me how to get around with a cane and how to cross streets without needing to see what I'm doing or see what's happening.
Well, yeah, having a vision teacher. I mean, I didn't have one of those, and it would have been nice, probably. Mm-hmm. Like I had to learn everything on my own. It wasn't. I don't know.
How to use the bus?
Fine.
My parents don't know how to use the bus.
Yeah, well, I was in Southern California, so I just had to move. But I don't know. I did learn all this stuff on my own. Some of that stuff is things that you can learn on your own.
Sure.
I mean, we live in a very ableist world, so it's not like I didn't have a traumatic childhood or whatever.
Well, and now
we live in an ableist world.
Right, and now all these blind kids who are growing up, they can just go to YouTube and watch all the blind lifestyle YouTubers. They are there. They're really cool. But you can learn all of this stuff through the internet. And
that's how I learned how to switch out the tip of my cane.
Hey, there you go. See?
It's just a resource we have now.
I mean, but when I was a kid, no.
I got a cane when I was like 23. That's why there was YouTubers at that point. I mean, when I was a kid, I wasn't getting to be blind at all. It didn't even let me be blind. So that was what happened with me.
Victoria was so proud of me, and we had gone to the school district building where her office was, and she has an office with all the BVI teachers, and she was so proud because she taught me a bunch of cane techniques. And we got out of the car and we're walking across the parking lot, and just so happened that all of the blind visually impaired teachers were walking out of the building because they were done with work or whatever. I don't know. But Victoria's like, "Oh, Melissa, you show the ladies your cane technique." And I was like, "Okay." And I took my cane out, and my cane's a jointed cane, so I can pull it apart. Right. So I pulled the cane apart and I spun it around.
Whoa, like nunchucks?
Yeah, I spun it around like nunchucks, and I ran towards the teachers, and I said, "Helicopter cane across the sky."
Oh my gosh.
And these old biddies were just mortified.
That's so
Victoria
funny.
couldn't stop laughing. Now, she never let me live it down because she's like, "You did embarrass the hell out of me, but it was the funniest shit I'd ever seen."
Oh my gosh. That's really funny.
But she was the person I could do that to. I could have never done that to any of my older BVI teachers. I would have been in so much trouble.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean about like the playfulness of it. I think like, I don't know. I think that like there's more room to be more playful and but part of it is like we've learned how to be better, what more effective parenting is over
Right.
time. Like we've learned that like kids need like love and touch and attention and all these things that like, you know, in the past it's like, no, you just like, you know, bully them into like obedience or whatever, which is like not an effective way to parent.
Right, no,
but it's also
yeah.
not effective. Like we've also still learning that it's not effective to like, you know, not set boundaries. Like you as an adult, it's your responsibility to set those boundaries, but to like set boundaries and but also give the expectations that your kids will, you know, do like will do stuff on their own and will kind of make mistakes and figure stuff out on their own in some ways, but then also you want to be there to support them throughout things. I mean, like, I don't know. I guess it's kind of complicated, but
Yeah. Oh no, it's extremely complicated.
but it's still, and you know, obviously I think people are always going to do a better or worse job at parenting. But
well, and it's, I mean, if you only took one thing away from the story, it's about teachers too, and how
Right.
absolutely important and necessary teachers are, and how resilient they are. Helen was Ani's first assignment, and it was a very, 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 very hard assignment. This was a huge task that she was being asked to do, and she could have turned tail and run and just threw her hands up in the air. I don't know. No one can teach this child. But
the first scene we see her, you know, that's not her.
oh
That's
no,
just so
not at
an
all.
inch of her personality.
No, yeah, no. I also think it helps that she's disabled herself.
Right. Well, that was the thing for me, is I was always like, oh, so this able person comes, and I didn't realize that she was I was like, oh, so she's me basically. So that's kind of cool. Like because she can't read, she doesn't know like. She starts spelling crochet at one point. She's like, everything has a name. This is crochet. She starts spelling it. She can't spell it. And I was like, whoa, she's going to know how to spell crochet?
Oh,
how
I know.
do you spell crochet?
There's a silent T in there somewhere. And then she's
It's not a thing
looking,
you can know.
Right. She's looking up how to spell discipline in the dictionary. And she's like, well, you have to know how to spell it before you can find it. And I'm like, oh my God, I've been there so many times.
The worst thing about dictionaries.
Dictionaries are a
This is
nightmare.
why Google is like a godsend to humans.
Yes. Yeah, but dictionaries the dictionary was a very scary place when I was a child.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, of course.
So I'm like, I
relate
totally
to her
get
a
it.
lot.
Oh, I do. Very, very much so.
And that she has a kind of like, I'm doing this attitude. I'm here. I'm like,
Yes.
I related to the way she talked to the parents a lot. She was just like, she had just no time for them. And she was like,
Yep.
I am the authority here, which I really appreciated that about her. But yeah, I mean, and I think that her teaching method, she really wanted like Helen to learn to communicate, and that was very important to her.
She was firm. I mean, she's very firm, very no nonsense.
Yeah.
Never cruel. And then they
She
do have
wasn't
that
cruel, yeah.
and then they do have that discussion about, you know, do you love her? And at first Ani's like, I don't know. I don't she's your child. She kind of throws the question
Which
back.
that one is I did not understand what the emotional things of that was.
I mean, they needed
an
an emotional. I think it's more. That's movie logic. They needed an emotional, like, 'cause
Yeah.
at the very last line of the movie is they're sitting on the porch together, and Ani goes, "I love you, Helen."
Yeah, but what happened? That she just learned to say words now?
Yeah,
I guess.
I don't think
didn't really
Ani
make
ever
sense to me.
hated her.
Well, she didn't. Yeah,
But I know I have teachers who are friends. I have friends who are teachers, and teachers definitely don't love all of their students.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can't speak for all teachers. I'm not a teacher, but
I don't know. I always like the students the most who are the most difficult, because I was like, you're interesting. I want to know what's going on with you. But I don't know. But that's not true of all teachers. I mean, I was always more difficult, and some teachers really liked me, some didn't. I think you should kind of one or the other, maybe. But like,
it's kind of an ending to both of their stories. Helen learns to speak, Ani learns to love.
But it's, yeah, that does not happen in the movie other than 2-line exchanges. That's not like a real thing that happens. It doesn't make sense at all to me.
Well, I mean, we kind of sort of brush over the fact that, like, Ani is also going through massive PTSD.
She has PTSD. She also is like, as a blind teacher, my heart went out to her, like, and how difficult that is to be in the position of authority and then also not being able to, and like the fucking ableist bullshit she was dealing with from like the dad and shit, and the fucking brother fuckboy guy. Like they were both so fucking ableist to her, being like, you can't teach her because you're blind, and like the most like shitty stuff that's like really some of the most abusive things that, you know, I've had to experience before in my life. Is like super triggering. Like it was just really
definitely.
bad the way they were treating her.
I wanted to be a teacher when I was going through middle school, high school. I thought, oh, I would be really good at this. I think I could totally do that.
Me too.
And I got the same response from people. And
I got that
from
as well.
myself.
For a long time, I didn't think I could do it because of that.
Yeah, and then it just starts to get really insidious when your own brain is telling you, oh, there's no way. Do you realize you have to deal with grading papers?
Well, that's like how gaslighting works.
This? Yeah, but I'm literally gaslighting myself.
Well, no, gaslighting is so that you start taking on that. Like, that's kind of part of gaslighting, is it makes you part of your own internal. That's kind of like one of the steps of gaslighting, is when you have now adopted it because your reality is so put into question that you start being like, oh, maybe my reality is wrong. Or like, I mean, I guess it is.
I had high school teachers that told my mom, I got to sit in on a couple of my IEP meetings. I didn't usually go because they were boring, but I've had high school teachers tell my mom that just be happy with what you have now because she will never go to college.
What the fuck?
Oh, totally. One teacher in particular. And my mom told me that. And the first thing I said was, well, I'll fucking show her. I didn't say fucking, obviously, but I'll show her. And I did it. It took me a long ass time, but I did it. I was the first person in my family to go to college and graduate.
Wow.
So
I was the only person in my family to go to college and not graduate, but whatever, it's fine. But God, what a...
Yeah.
Just how can you be... that should be like to the level of like, you can't be around children. Like, you can't... If you say that kind of shit, you can't be around children. Like, that doesn't seem legal. Like, I'm sorry, but I feel like that's little... That's like basically child abuse. To just be like, you are not able to do the same things as other children. But that's abuse.
It all comes down to disabled kids versus the able kids, and how in a lot of the school system, disabled kids are set up to fail.
Right.
Or
and
they're set up to be very limited.
Yeah, you're set up to fail, or like you can't have any opportunities. Mm-hmm. Yep. Or then you do like just normal kid stuff and it's like, whoa, so amazing. So it's always some bullshit.
Right. And hopefully, yes. And hopefully you're a disabled person that is lucky enough to have an extraordinary teacher.
Yeah, hopefully you get granted the ability to talk, because, you know, what, like, legitimately, what if, like, you had an able child and you, like, lock them away so they didn't hear any language? That's abuse.
That is abuse. Oh, absolutely, 100%. Yes.
Same thing if they're born deafblind. Exact same thing. It doesn't make any difference. You're still doing that same thing to a child. It's so frustrating. It just, like, I don't know. It's... So Merry Christmas, everyone.
This is such a great movie to do at Christmas. Happy Christmas. Oh my gosh. And here I am thinking, oh, we'll do The Miracle Worker. It's a heartwarming Christmas movie, and it's like, oh, but you're doing it in 2020, and
I did also research Helen Keller's life, so I'm coming in with a real thing.
I like that though. I would prefer what happened now than just coming in and being like, oh, it's so inspiring.
What if we did that? That'd be so funny.
I want to know. I want to know about Helen. I can't wait to go home and do my own Google searches.
Yeah.
And read. I want to read
about her
some
socialism
of her
stuff. It's
Yeah.
most of her life also.
And-
Spoiler alert.
And I want to read her books. I want to read things that she
she's
wrote.
written many books. Yeah, she actually also was not pleased with this movie and did not, which I was like, because she was like she was near the end of her life when the movie came out, so I was like, she must have been really mad about this movie. Like, I was like, I can't imagine she gave it her blessing. And then I was like reading something and it was like, she was really mad about it. She did not give it her blessing. I was like, okay, well, that tracks.
Nice. and yet we're
still
telling the story. Yeah, it still got made.
And we're still telling
the story. We're still telling the story.
But no one even knows she's a socialist. And like, she was literally, she just, like, she's truly AOC, but like a entire century before AOC. Like, she was like, take AOC, just move her back 100 years and you get Helen Keller. Like, it was just and we're now like, wow, that AOC is just such a young person, so naive. Helen Keller was doing this 100 years ago. Okay, deep breath. But you know, she's an awesome person. I'm glad I got to learn more about her, because of course she was an awesome person, given like that she was like a deafblind person who was granted the ability to talk in America. But she also like was, you know, she's part of her family was like elite. Like, her mom was like part of like the like wealthy upper class of
and that's another thing that kind of struck me this go around is, man, oh man, if Helen Keller had been poor or
so different.
A person of color, or, you know, this story would have ended tragically.
Yeah.
But because she's wealthy and white, she was given that opportunity. I'm not saying I wouldn't want her to be the amazing person that she is, or that she was. I
right, but that's why I was always like, oh, Helen Keller, she had all the privilege. Like, you know, she was just also, well, she's also deafblind and a woman at a time where it was not cool to be either of those things if you wanted rights. But I was still like, yeah, but she, other than that, had all the privilege. So I was like, but then like, she really, it's not that she just like was also cool about like disability and women's rights. She like advocated for a lot of things that were not even specific, she did a lot of work with the I'm dyslexic and so I'll always get the word. It's gonna take me a second. The NAACP. Yeah, okay. She did a lot of work with the NAACP, in between. She did work with a lot. She helped found the ACLU. I mean, like, she also just
Helen Keller,
so much cool shit. Like, she, again, like, on the right side of a lot of history, which was, I was like, wow, I can't even imagine, like, her family owned slaves and were like, you know, rich Southern white people, and the fact that she overcame that, like, she overcame fucking slave owning family to be like the fucking badassest person ever is just, it is an inspiration. It's really an inspiration. You can be born to slave owning white people in the South after the Civil War, and you can be a fucking Marxist, socialist, you know, and liberate every possible group that is like oppressed by society, badass. You can overcome your white Southern slave owning upbringing to be someone great. That's the moral of the story. Do we want to do ratings?
Yeah, why not? Let's go for it.
Do you want to go first?
Sure. So I'm basing a lot of this on performance, because I mean we did watch a movie.
No, it's good.
Yeah. So I'm being rather generous. I'm going to give it a 2100.
Nice.
I completely bought Anne Bancroft as Ani. I thought she did a marvelous job. So just icy but kind and determined and amazing, and just watching her was incredible. And I thought Patty Duke was a really amazing Helen as well. I mean, it's a very physical performance.
Yeah.
You have to be.
Right.
And she convinced me.
Yeah, it was a good.
It's so tactile, and those two actors have to be so intimate with each other and so familiar with each other, because it's all, her whole world is touch. It's all tactile and smell. That was another. really neat thing about the movie is especially in the dining scene when she's trying to learn how to eat with a spoon, how Ani emphasized smell as well too. So she still has senses. I mean, she tastes, she touches, smell, like that's all there still.
Right.
Those are all things that she's registering.
Yeah.
And how she perceives the world, and just little moments like that. I thought when they were in the creek, playing in the creek, and they fall, and
that was cute.
And Helen comes over to find Ani, and she just sits down, and Ani's like WATER, water.
Yeah,
just little things like that. The scene where they had just moved into their little house together, and of course Helen doesn't want to have anything to do with Ani, so Ani teaches Percy, the little boy that's living with them.
Right.
Yeah.
That poor kid.
I know that poor kid. I know.
What did she says you earned your sleep?
You earned your sleep.
You don't earn sleep. I'm like,
whoa. Okay, hang on.
That's a human need. Like, it's a base on the Maslow's hierarchy.
It's
like, you don't fucking earn that.
Yeah, it's such a throwaway line, but I was like,
that's so, like,
I don't know about
real
that. Okay.
Racist bullshit.
Yeah.
This poor kid. He's like 10 years old. He's like a little kid. It's just, yeah.
Yep.
Anyway.
But
what are you gonna do?
You know,
America.
Yeah. But, God, I don't want to be like, well, the method worked, though. I mean, it's very, very, very problematic. Yeah. But like I said, based on performances and rating this as a movie, yeah, I would say 2100. I think both actresses did their homework to portray these roles. And it was very easy to watch.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Yeah. I wasn't sure how this was going to end up, but yeah,
me too.
I'm not sad that I watched it. If anything, I think it's been a gift, because now we know and can find out more about Helen Keller and about her amazing life.
Yeah, that's definitely. Gosh, I would so much rather watch a movie about her actual life.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna give it a 2040.
Okay.
I mean, Helen Keller, like, learning about her actual as a human being is like very cool, and I hope that she remains someone that we talk about. I just hope we actually talk about her and her life, because that would be really nice, because that's the cool part of her, is her life, and this movie does not address that in any way. But I think that, like, it's not the worst subject, or it's not subject meaning the human being involved, but I think, like, I agree with you. I think the performances were really good, and we do watch a lot of movies that are like actors forget that they're blind, and I thought that Patty Duke is, like, very you really, I don't know, I felt like she did a really good job with something that could be very hard to do as an abled actor.
When you're having seen this play a couple of times and seen a couple of versions of this movie, when you're the girl who's playing, the actor who's playing Helen can't just play this I'm only going to say this once, forgive me, can't just play this, like, deaf and dumb character who flops around on the floor. You have to portray a sense of urgency, a sense of wanting, a sense of wanting to learn.
Well, I was, like, surprised too, because I was, like, expecting it to be so absent from, like, because you have this character that from the outside perspective is supposed to be so cut off, and, like, all the abled they're not all abled, but, like, all the characters that are not Helen Keller are, like, trying to break into this impenetrable, wall, is kind of like the narrative that gets said about this. But I thought her performance was really great, and that you didn't feel that at all. Like, it was just so easy to, like, be in her shoes most of the time. You were like, yeah, I understand. Like, her perceptions felt so easy to relate to and real to me, and I don't know if that's, like, my own experiences. It was just that it made it easier for me, but I was not expecting the movie to, like, give me any window into her, whereas I felt like it was very easy to just be in her shoes all the time. And so I think that definitely had, I mean, that has to be the performance, like, because I think that you could have definitely had a performance that was just absent. And I think that she really did a good job at giving a performance that you could really empathize with. And you know, I think that it could have been more ableist. I mean, obviously the movies like said a bunch of like characters said a bunch of ableist things that were like supposed to be not, you know, morally right. You know, like there was a lot of the ableism was like the movie wasn't like sanctioning the ableism. Sanctioning's the right word, right?
Wasn't condoning.
Like, yeah, condoning. That's yeah. It wasn't like it was saying that the ableist things were the problem, not agreeing with the ableism. But you know, again, it's a boring story to tell, which is why it's so low for me. I think that like there's so many cool things we could have seen. And after also seeing like Land of Silence and Darkness pretty recently, and I actually like edited that and then saw this movie, edited our podcast and saw this movie, so it was like exactly in my head when I was watching this movie. And I felt like I was like, oh, you can actually watch an adult advocate who's deafblind advocating for other deafblind people, and like, you know, having social like progressive views and going around and talking about them. I'm like, that can be a movie. We know it's possible. So I would have much rather watched that movie than this one. But I think, you know, it did what it did, and it could have been more ableist, and I thought the performances were good. And so that's why I'm giving it the rating I'm giving it.
And I, for one, can't wait to watch the Disneyfied version.
Oh my gosh,
year.
It's going to be exciting. Well, I think we have a 70s one first.
Oh, you're right. There's one more. Yeah.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Gotta just keep doing this podcast.
We'll get there, Haley Kate Eisenberg.
Eventually.
We will get there.
Maybe by the time we get there, there'll be a fourth one to watch. Be interesting to do that now. I mean, I hope that we don't make another one before we make any other movies about Helen Keller's life, but whatever, probably will happen. So yeah, I think that's the end of talking about the movie.
Yeah, we did it.
Yeah, so what are we doing next week? I'm asking you, but we decided, the two of us.
Well, we decided because next week is the finale of the year.
Yes.
We might as well go out with a bang, and we've left this on the back burner for like 2 months. So we're going to watch the last 2 episodes of C, the first season of C.
It'll be good. We're wrapping up our first season with the first season of C, which is also a show with a bunch of blind people.
Yeah. So,
and ours is a lot about like killing people, and neither of us trust anyone in our lives. So it's basically the same as our life. Yeah. So that'll be exciting to find out. Yeah. What happens with them if they get to.
Will they make it to the House of Enlightenment?
Yeah. If they like, I don't know, if they all die or like if sight is going to like really change the society in some major ways.
Well, and we know that they don't all die because there is a second season, but we don't know when they start filming.
Yeah.
Or if they've finished it yet.
Yeah, I guess now they are Hollywood, not Hollywood. I guess just is TV part of Hollywood technically? Not exactly.
I mean, yeah, there's television industry and
television industry, movie industry. They're similar. I just associate Hollywood with being only movies, but yeah, that's I think things are starting to film again, so we'll see. But hopefully won't be too soon, because I'm excited to finish the first season.
Yeah, I am too. I want to find out what happens, definitely.
But that is next week for New Year's Eve. But you know, today's Christmas Eve.
Right. And
even though we are a very multi-denominational podcast, the Christmas Eve is still a holiday, sort of.
Well, I'm the Christmas half of the podcast.
Yeah. So we are doing, and we're recording it on the first night of Hanukkah. So because we do a little bit of a delay, so it's festive time. And so we're gonna do a little bit of a giving gift instead of our blindsided things, or blindsided by gifts. We don't even know what they're going to be, so it's very exciting. And let's start, Melissa. Why don't you give me my gift?
Yeah, you go first. Okay, here we go. And remember, you have to describe it and everything, because No,
this is good.
People
Okay.
can't see it.
Yes, right. Which, I mean, technically I can't either. Okay,
Right,
so
I can describe the mug.
This
to
is
you
a
if you'd like.
fabulous mug. Does it come with
great?
the mug?
Yeah, the mug is yours.
Oh,
yeah,
yes. Okay.
that's yours.
This is so cute. There's like a little dog and a Christmas outfit. We have like a Christmas tree, and like snowflakes, and there's two different are they two different dogs or
I
they're
think
the
they're
same
the
dog?
same dog, but there's two different
I think you're
photos of him on the mug. But I saw that, and it's huge.
Yeah.
I've never seen a mug.
It's just such a big mug.
It's a huge mug. I mean, it's not as big as the as John Oliver's like Reese's parody mug. That's a huge mug, but that's the second biggest mug I've ever seen.
This is great. This is like, if I put this with water in it, maybe I would actually be a human being who's hydrated, which would be really great.
You could eat like 2 cans of soup out of that mug.
Oh my gosh, this is exciting. This is great. I'm always like try to find the biggest mug because I love putting like cool water in a mug.
I thought so.
Yes,
Okay, good.
Love it.
Good.
I love this a lot, and of course I love a Christmas dog. How could you not? Then we have a gift that's wrapped. But it is the wrapping. I'll start by describing the wrapping.
Yes.
We have Mickey and Minnie. I see Minnie.
And Mickey should be on there
Okay,
somewhere.
Mickey is also there's Mickeys and Minnies, and there's blue backdrop with like little snowflakes and flowers. So it's the time of year with snowflakes and flowers.
and my shitty wrap job.
I love this blind wrapping job.
awful.
It's ripped.
I cannot wrap. I can't wrap presents.
I
at all.
can't either. So, and I definitely yours is not in a USPS package somewhere in Portland.
I can't wait to use scissors to
My
open
wonderful
mine.
wrapping. But maybe if I said, well, we'll see. It's gonna happen in like 2 seconds, so we'll find out.
Oh, I love it. That is ASMR right there.
Yeah, this is really ASMR.
I'll stop talking and start whispering. Yes. So here we have. It's a red shirt. See, and the fucked up thing about this is I would listen to you do that for like an hour. I totally would.
Okay, well, this is now an ASMR podcast. You're listening to this one. Okay. Oh my gosh.
So I can describe it for you if you would like. Also, they sent me 2, so you get a bonus shirt.
This is so exciting. Okay, so the one that I'm looking at right now is a picture of Stevani from Steven Universe, who is a mix of Steven and
Connie.
Where's my brain? And underneath it says I'm an experience, which is very awesome. And it is red and it has little stars. It is really great. She's smiling, or they're smiling. I think they use they.
I think they go by they. Yeah. And I wish I could say that the other one is different.
Well,
but
the other one is Stevani.
They sent me 2 the same shirt. I don't know why. So I was like, cool. Sky gets 2 shirts.
That's awesome. Well, I already have one with Garnet that says I am made of love.
Yes.
So just collecting the fusions of Steven Universe characters. This is super awesome. Thank you so much, Melissa.
You're so welcome. Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you. Well, this one is for Christmas and one's for Hanukkah.
Right. Oh, there you go. Perfect.
Exactly. Oh, this is so great. Thank you so much. Here's my gift that I definitely have in my hand. We're definitely not cutting to like a week and a half from now when I send it to you.
I'm so excited. I can't wait.
Here we go. It is, I'm taking off the wrapping. And I'm reaching inside. Oh, what is this? Oh, it's so lovely. Oh my gosh, the wrapping, you did an amazing wrapping job.
Oh, thanks.
Holy smoke. Oh, and I can totally use this ribbon again because it's Velcro.
Yeah.
I love it. What a great invention. Oh my God, that's fantastic. I love it. It says, to Melissa from Sky. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Oh, you did really well. It's really taped up. I guess the first wrapping bit was the outer layer, not in the inner layer.
Right.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay, I see maroon. I see a beautiful maroon color. Oh my God. Yes! Oh my God, sky. Oh my God. Okay, it's a maroon colored shirt with white lettering, and it's got a person with a cane, but in the style of like handicap signs, and in big white letters it says, "Respect the cane."
Yes.
Oh my God, Sky, this is freaking perfect. I love it. I'm wearing it every day.
Yay. And does it fit too? That's the other.
Let me see. It looks like, yeah, that's a 2X, but I can figure that out. I'm standing up live in studio right now.
Yes, definitely. We're definitely together.
Totally together. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely together. Okay. That's off. Now I'm going to put this. Oh boy. I can't wait to take a picture and send it to my parents.
Yeah, because you're not with them at all.
Not at all. They are in no way upstairs. It's perfect.
Yay.
Oh my God, I love it so much.
Yay, I'm so glad.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad you like it. Well,
Thank you.
and Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah and
Yes.
all the other ones. Okay, well, isn't it a great present that I got you?
Oh my God, I love it. It is exactly what I wanted. It's beautiful.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is great. We both had really great presents. And we will next week come back for C. We're gonna do the final episode of the year, and then we're gonna do sometime in February probably we're gonna do our picks of the year. So it's very exciting. Everything up until now, and including next week, qualifies for our award ceremony. So get excited for 2021.
I know I am.
It's way better. I mean, this is coming into blindness now. Like the world, we are graduating into blindness after this year. It's so great. It's like all blind from here on out. Because 2021 is more blind than 2020, and it just gets better and better. Okay. So our theme song is by Lucia Fasano. Our YouTube is Citizen White Cane Podcast. You can turn on closed captions for transcripts of the show. Our Twitter is White Cane Pod. Our Instagram and our Facebook are both Citizen White Cane. Our email is citizenwhitecanepod@gmail.com. If you'd like to send us a voice message, what Christmas present did you get?
Do you celebrate Hanukkah or Christmas?
Yeah. And what is your opinion on socialism, and what are like some awesome Helen Keller facts that you want us to know about?
Or Helen Keller quotes?
Yeah, or quotes, because there's maybe one or two of those out there in the world. I don't know if I've heard potentially talk of them. Yeah, any of those, there's a link in the show notes. And come back next week for C. Rate the podcast, review the podcast, and subscribe to the podcast.
Yes, please.
Gift people tomorrow the idea of a podcast that is our podcast. I don't know, get creative.
That's the perfect gift. I would be excited with a podcast.
Yeah, knowledge about like blind people in media and like funny times. Yep, it's lots of complaining about socialism and not complaining about it, but how we should have more of it.
Yeah, the lack of socialism.
Yeah, the lack of social. Exactly. And we'll see you next week for the last podcast of the year. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Bye.